Hey everyone, it's Kristen. So we just finished issue 1 of the Spider-Woman Julia Carpenter miniseries, and in this issue, we're going to talk about her origin. Because of course I usually tell you guys the origin of characters, but since we're going to actually talk about her origin in this comic book, I didn't find it was necessary. So in the last issue, she fought Terax and she staggered home. I think is it Terax or Terax? Terax. Okay. Terax is a different character I'm thinking of. Anyway, Terax. And so she staggered home, so she's having a nightmare about spiders. Of course, she doesn't know, we don't know it's a nightmare until we turn the next page and she, screams, wakes up. Her mom's like, you're just having a nightmare, like about spiders, like when you were little, She says, no, it was real. She slams her dad against the wall. And, they're like, oh my gosh, you killed your father. And, of course, she didn't kill him. He's just stunned. But, for dramatic effect. And so she asked, where the body is of Dr. Napier. And they're like, he's in the other room. We covered him with a sheet. So obviously her parents are like, so obviously you have something to tell us, right? And she's like, yeah, I'm Spider-Woman. This is the new job. And they're like, well, I guess I hope it pays well. And she's like, well, not super well, but it pays the mortgage. So, and of course, like I said, she has her nanny, Consuela, to help her. And she says, Mom, Dad, we have a surprise for you. We got shots so that we could go back to Peru with you. But what I need from you is to take Rachel back with you now. Because obviously something's going on here. I don't know what's going on, but I need to figure this out. And I need you and Rachel to be safe. And that's far away from here. Because, there are some people that do know that she is Spider-Woman. So she goes to Washington, D.C., to like the commission headquarters to look up her file so she can figure out what's going on. And she realizes that even though Val told her, like, that she thought this was kind of all by chance, that she happened to be, hooked up with Val Cooper and Dr. Val Cooper, it mentions in here, and the commission, but really she was chosen for this. And Val is behind her with goons and says, you really didn't think that you didn't trip any alarm, did you? I mean, and so basically Spider-Woman gets rid of the goons with guns. And if you basically, Val's like, if you get rid of me, you won't know what really happened. You won't know about your origin. And she's like, okay, fine, tell me and make it good. And Val is like, I don't think you'll like what I'm going to tell you. So Val Cooper, it says Dr. Val Cooper. I think she's like a psychologist. Of course, I just know her as Valerie Cooper, Val Cooper, like the government liaison, to X Factor. Well, Freedom Force first, and then, which is a team that Julia was on, which was mostly criminal mutants like the Blob, Mystique, Destiny, Spiral, Pyro, those, and then Spider-Woman, just randomly. And she was also, the government liaison to X Factor in the comic books, which I heard a rumor that she's going to be part of the new animated series, the new X-Men animated series. I don't know how true that is because we haven't seen any like promotional art that features her or anything. It's just this rumor that's been swirling around the internet. But of course, like, we haven't even gotten a new trailer. Like, we haven't even gotten a trailer, period, for the X-Men, the new X-Men animated series. So that's pretty annoying, I think. I mean, I feel like we should at least have gotten a new trailer by now. But, they have the comic book that's coming out in March that's like a prelude to the series. So I guess that's the trailer. They want you to buy that instead. Anyway, I'm just excited for it to, Anyway, so back to this. So Dr. Napier was part of the team with Val Cooper, and Dr. Sylvie, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She was born basically like a Peruvian Native American Indian. Like, I don't know how to pronounce that either. You know me and pronunciations. Like, they always trip me up. So anyway, I'm going to call her Dr. Sylvie. She's a native of Peru. And then you have from Japan, he's a young grad student. And his last name's, it's Hashe Noto. Again, I'm probably butchering that. I'm sure I am. So anyway, so the four of them made up this team. And what they are tasked to do is to come up with, create superheroes. To create superheroes that can be controlled by the government. And so Dr. Napier brings up the Fantastic Four, that they're not vigilantes. And he's like, Val's like, they can't be controlled. They're freelancers. And even the Avengers with their quasi, official status still like have an independent streak. They still can't be controlled. So we need people that we can control. Basically, Dr. Sylvie, the the native of Peru, says, well, in Peru, there's plants that produce drugs, and these plants are only found in the Amazon jungle. And these might have, cause the effect that you're looking for. And she's like, well, that's partly why you're here, Dr. Sylvie, is because you know of these plants and these chemicals and these spiders. So the first step is they need to figure out where these plants and chemicals, spiders, exist. So what they do is hire Julia's parents, the Cornwalls, to escort them, to show them where these chemicals are. Because they're like experts in Peru. And Julia's like, oh, shocked. What? My parents are involved in this? And she's like, well, yeah, they were highly recommended, by the doctors. So basically, they need to find a test subject to test these chemicals on. Someone who can be, absolutely controlled. And Val gets to thinking that, the Cornwalls always talk about how their daughter, who has a daughter herself, who's now divorced, is always worried about making ends meet. And so Val's like, I knew her from college. She was, smart, discreet, fairly athletic. And since now she has these money problems, she's perfect. And so Val pretended that she was in the area and was looking up her friend from college, Julia. But really, of course, she planned the whole thing. And so she asked, how's it going? And Julia's like, well, Larry doesn't give me much in child support. It's really not enough to survive on. I'm I need to be there for Rachel. So it's hard to find a job that, would work with that. Anyway, so she just going on and on about basically her money problems. And Valerie says, well, there might be an opening, where I work. And she's like, well, Julia's like, well, what would I be doing? And Belle's like, well, I can't really tell you that until you've been cleared. I mean, the pay is really good. And not to mention there's fringe benefits. So what they tell Julia is that she's part of this program to figure out the benefits of physical exercise for people. Which, and yet it's a top secret floor. There's guys. The only other person allowed on this floor besides Val, the 3 doctors, is Theo, the janitor. And yet, the benefits of physical exercise program thing, it's supposedly top secret. Which, shouldn't that be like a clue? Like, something else is going on. Like, why would this be top secret? Because all they're making me do is, hooking me up to machines and seeing how well I do on the treadmill or lifting weights or, on the gymnast rings. So anyway, and Dr. Napier starts to have second thoughts. Like, he's like, I don't think we should be doing this. And Val's like, this is what we were hired to do. This is what we are expected to do. We are expected to get results. So do your job. We're going on to phase 2. So they send for Julia, and they're like, well, we have some new procedures to try. And, they have a needle, and he's like, this is necessary for us to study your reactions to certain kinds of exercise. So they stick her with it, and because he's like, we wouldn't do anything to hurt you, So, I mean, and Val's like, people trust Napier. Like, he has a very trustworthy demeanor. He would have made a great embezzler, and that's why he's in this, is for the money, because he gets paid like 6 figures. So they gave her, a series of shots over the next couple days, and they didn't tell her that every single shot had some kind of spider extract in it. They only told her that, like, basically they told her that they kept increasing the dosage, until one day they told her, the next shot was going to be like a calculated risk. It was double the amount that Napier thought might kill her. So they injected her with it, and she was out for hours. And so she came to and said, oh my gosh, what happened? And Dr. Napier is like, oh my gosh, I feel awful. This is all my fault. And all the other doctors are like, no, it's my fault. And Val's like, no, it's mine, because I'm supposed to oversee the project. And basically what they said is they stuck her full of spider venom on accident. And so she's like, you stuck me full of what? And she smashes in this wall, and they're like, oh. They pretended to be surprised, but that's what they wanted to see. And then Val, the next day, asked her to lift this car, this brand new spider, whatever kind of car that she bought, kind of ironically, she bought this spider, Daytona spider. I don't know what kind of car that is. I don't really know anything about cars. Anyway, so she bought it. She asked Julia to test it, pick it up. She's like, are you crazy? I guess I could try. So she does, and she picks it up, puts it over her head. But she kind of slips, and the car slips out of her hands. But she does pick it up. And then they ask her to jump and crawl on walls just put her through all these tests. And then this part's really funny. And so they ask her to shoot out webs, and she's like, "You're kidding, right? You know where spiders shoot their webs from. If you think I'm really going to..." And this is what I thought was weird, and they never explained it, like, ever. Well, not in this comic book series, and I don't think we get an explanation. It's just kind of like, this is the way it is. The comic book knowledge of, or logic of, this is the way it is, just because comic books. They're like, Dr. Napier says, if you've acquired such an ability, like to shoot webs, I'm sure it will be mental. Like, how the heck does he know that? Or like, why? Yeah, like, that threw me. I'm like, why would it be mental? Like, why would he know that? Or why would he say that? Anyway, basically, comic book logic. Comic books. So they're like, go ahead, try it. And they push her and they push her and they push her. And the psi webs come out of her mind and accidentally, wrap up the janitor, Theo, which he is not amused by. So the next day, they give her her uniform and they call her Spider-Woman. And she's like, well, why can't it be something like Arcane, that weaver that one of the goddesses in Greek mythology turned into a spider? That sounds, sounds cooler. And Val's like, well, we need it to be something that the press can spell. So you're going to be Spider-Woman. And there was a Spider-Woman before, but she's long gone. This is, the period when she was dead. So, the moniker's all yours. And then, of course, this was not Julia's first appearance, because this is comic books from 1993. Her first appearance was during Secret Wars, because, of course, she works for a secret government agency. So her first appearance was Secret Wars. So we didn't know about her before then. And I think she had like a cameo in Secret Wars 4, and then a full appearance in 6. And that was during 1984. And that was where the Beyonder took all the heroes and villains to Battle World to basically have them, kind of fight for his amusement. And so he could study more of human behavior. So anyway, Val's like, yeah, we knew about that. And then, like I said, Val put her on Freedom Force, which is basically, just the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants, most of the members, and then plus Spiral, because she was stuck. We talked about that, where she was stuck here because she displeased Mojo. So she was on Freedom Force, and then, basically Julia decided to strike out on her own after she lost custody of our daughter to her ex-husband. And then she started kind of acting just like a freelance hero instead of remembering that she worked for them. And then she betrayed them when she let the Avengers, who they arrested, out of the vault because, the whole, yeah. Another one of those complicated things that basically, the whole Avengers didn't do what the government wanted them to do, so the government arrested them, sort of thing. So, basically Julia reminds them, well, I can't work for you. You put Mike, you locked up heroes and put Mike Clemson in charge of me. Like, he was like my handler when he was trying to, he has some kind of vendetta against me, and he's mixed up with bad guys. And then Val's like, yeah, we found out, and he's out of the commission, so it's fine now, And then Julia says, well, what about Dr. Napier? Like, why did he die? Did you know that he contacted my folks before he died? And, she talked about how Deathweb was there, and Val's all surprised, like, Deathweb? Are you serious? And then basically she tells her the rest of the story, that they actually created Deathweb as well. So, like, basically a villain called the Manipulator, he used the facilities and the scientist and Dr. Napier to create Deathweb. So Theo, the janitor, volunteered because he's like, well, money. And he turns into their act. And then the grad student and Dr. Sylvie volunteered because money, and he was interested in a challenge. And so basically he turned into this guy that can teleport, and she shoots webs out of her hands. But unfortunately, every time he teleports, it is super painful. So he has to wear this armor that kind of lessens the blow of it hurting so bad when he teleports. And she has to wear these bracelets that lessen the pain when she used her web glands. So basically, and then Napier got even richer. You can see him holding a big stack of money. So basically, Julia was the start of all these other creatures. And Val said, of course, it happened while I was away, and I found out about it after I looked at the footage. And then, Julia's like, but, and she tried to blackmail, him, Napier, into working for them still, after he created these 3 villains, basically. And she was hoping that he would lead them to the Manipulator, and then therefore Deathweb. So basically what she wants Julia to do is track down Deathweb for her, so that she can bring them back and basically have them work for her and use them to work for her. And basically also they said, sorry, I keep saying basically a lot. What this whole time was about is that Val was trying to get Julia to tell her where her parents were, because Deathweb and the Manipulator needed more of the plants and more of the spiders in order to make more serum, and they needed the Cornwalls to lead them back to where they found them, back to where they found the plants and the spiders. So the whole point was Val was trying to get her to say where her parents were, so that they could stop her parents by any means necessary from helping Deathweb. And so basically Val tells her goons, get her. And of course, they can't get her. I mean, she, knocks them out easily. And Julie says, I'm going after my parents, and you better, pray that I find them and that they're alive. And so that's the end of this issue. So basically, Julia learns that it wasn't just an accident that she was chosen, and it wasn't an accident that they gave her spider venom, that, of course, they were giving it to her all along, just upping the dosage, seeing how much she could tolerate, and then just increasing daily. And then they only told her after, she had that reaction and she blacked out. And then, of course, they saw that it worked, so they were super happy. And then, because of that work, Dr. Napier's work, Deathweb was created, because the Manipulator, who manipulates people, that's what he does, he promised Dr. Napier a ton of money, and as well as Dr. Silby, and the grad student Noto, promised him probably money and some kind of like prestige into volunteering, and Theo got money. So basically manipulated all these people into doing what he wanted. So I hope you will join us for the third installment, 3 out of 4 of the Spider-Woman series. So until next time, bye.